This is what you get for trying to get married before me, even though you're ugly. That tattered wedding dress suits you perfectly. I'm sure the groom and all the relatives will say it suits you, too.
My sister's genuinely amused voice in my wedding dress, which had become a miserable sight before my eyes. Despair threatened to overwhelm me. But as her older sister, I can't let her grow up to be such a terrible person. I will definitely show her my happiness and make her regret what she's done. I am Mary, 27 years old. I recently registered my marriage with Kevin, whom I have been dating for 3 years, and our wedding is just around the corner. From preparing invitations for the guests, to choosing the food and floral decorations. Just the preparations alone were overwhelming, but when I thought about it as a chance to show my gratitude to the people who have always been there for us, and the friends who have supported Kevin and me, I was able to put my heart into the preparations. Besides, I was very particular about choosing my dress. A wedding dress is something you only wear once in a lifetime. Especially for me, I had always dreamed of wearing a pure white wedding dress since I was a little girl. I spent quite a bit on the dress, but I wonder if it looks out of place on me.
I think that wedding dress suits you the best, Mary! And it's been your dream to wear a wedding dress, and you've been saving up for it, right?
Kevin, thank you. You're right, it's a special day. I should wear the dress I love with pride. The dress I chose was a beautiful one with lots of tulle and lace, designed by a famous designer. Imagining myself in that wedding dress, which I fell in love with at first sight, standing beside my kind husband at the perfect venue. Just thinking about it made me eagerly anticipate the day. I was at the peak of happiness. However, there was one problem in my life.
Mary, did you really manage to marry Kevin? Isn't he regretting it by now?
Hey, Beth, there are things you shouldn't say, even as a joke. When I stopped by my parents' house to take care of some errands, my sister, Beth, who is 2 years younger than me, was lying on the sofa with a smirk on her face. Even if it were a joke, it was something that shouldn't be said, but I knew better than anyone that she didn't mean it as a joke.
But Kevin is handsome, isn't he? Don't you think he's too good for a plain sister like you?
Looks aren't everything. Marriage isn't just about appearance.
Well, maybe it's more convincing when you say it, Mary. I never thought you'd get married before me anyway.
Enough already. Beth, my sister, is always overly confident. She seems to have done extensive research on makeup and hairstyles to appeal to men, always checking herself in the mirror. Ever since we were little, she would say things like,
"Unlike me, my sister is ugly,"
putting me down in front of others. She always thinks about how to stand above me. Well, I've never thought I lost to my sister in anything other than looks. Of course, we don't have a good sisterly relationship, but lately, her words and actions have become particularly strange.
Hey, Mary. When Kevin came over to our house to say hello, I met him, right? Did he say anything about me?
About you?
Like, wow, you have such a cute sister, or your sister is more of a refined beauty than you, or something like that.
I'm leaving now. As I turned to leave my parents' house in exasperation, Beth muttered something under her breath.
Just because you happen to get married. Acting all high and mighty. Even though you're ugly. Just wait and see.
Huh? Did you say something?
Just hurry up and leave already.
This isn't unusual for her, so I didn't pay it much mind and went home that day. Even though she had been acting that way, my sister Beth came along with my parents to check out the pre-wedding photo shoot Kevin and I had planned.
So this is the wedding dress you'll be wearing on the day of the ceremony, huh?
Beth, could you please step back now? The photo shoot is about to start. We were at the cathedral where the wedding would be held, and I was getting ready for the photo shoot, which would begin with some solo shots of me. But Beth kept wandering around me non-stop.
Yes, I'll step back. What is it? Just because you're in a wedding dress, you're acting like you're the star or something.
I mean, it is my pre-wedding shoot today. And if the staff gets delayed, it would be troublesome for them, right?
You're the typical person who has to be nice to everyone around you just because your face is so. By the way, let me tell you, this dress doesn't suit you at all.
She whispered to me, making sure my parents, Kevin, and Kevin's mother, who had come to watch, couldn't hear. What? As I tried to respond, Beth smiled and walked away. The photo shoot for my solo shots began, but Beth's words had stabbed me deeply, and I couldn't smile naturally. The more the shoot dragged on, the more I struggled, and my smile became increasingly strained.
Oh dear, Mary, are you nervous?
It was Kevin's mother, and who spoke to me. I had only met her a few times, but she was a gentle and kind person. I just can't seem to smile properly. I'm sorry for keeping you waiting.
It's all right. You look so beautiful in that dress that I could watch you forever. Take your time with the photos.
Her words gave me a bit of relief, but then my sister Beth once again tried to ruin the atmosphere.
Hey, Mary! How can you be causing trouble for your new family already? Sorry about my incompetent sister. I bet you never wanted a daughter-in-law like this, did you?
Beth, that's enough. As I frowned, and gently stepped between my sister and me with a smile.
It's so kind of you to come along for your sister's pre-wedding shoot. But this is Mary and my son's photo shoot. Let's go stand to the side, shall we?
She took Beth's hand kindly and led her to the corner of the venue. But throughout the rest of the shoot, Beth kept glaring at me with intense eyes, clicking her tongue repeatedly, ruining the mood of the whole event.
Is your sister maybe feeling lonely because I'm taking you away from her?
Whatever it is, I'm sorry. I felt 3 times more exhausted because of my sister. But oh well, the preparations are finally done. This is the biggest event of my life. There is no such thing as being too prepared. I went over everything once more to make sure I had taken care of every possible detail. The day of the wedding came in no time. Kevin and I left our new home together and headed to the venue, exchanging a see you later as we went to our respective dressing rooms. The moment was finally here, the moment I would wear my ideal wedding dress and vow eternal love to the person I love. A dream I'd had since I was a little girl was about to come true. Trying to calm my racing heart, filled with a mix of slight nerves and immense joy, I reached for the door of the bridal suite. Just as I did, the door suddenly swung open from the inside with force. Beth? What are you doing coming out of here? To my shock, it was my sister stepping out from inside the room. When I asked her, surprised, Beth hurriedly closed her bag with a mischievous smile.
Oh. I accidentally mistook it for the bathroom. But isn't this bridal suite so shabby? So sad to get ready in a place like this. Well, it suits you, Mary. Bye.
With that, Beth walked away quickly. It was too early for any of the relatives to be at the venue. I tilted my head at Beth's strange behavior, but the moment I stepped into the bridal suite, everything was blown away in shock. The elegantly decorated bridal suite. Hanging there was a wedding dress, slashed to pieces and utterly ruined. What is this? From the remnants, the tulle and lace, it was unmistakably the wedding dress I was supposed to wear. I stood there, stunned in front of the destroyed dress, when the staff in charge of makeup and attire entered the room. Seeing me standing before the shredded dress, they were equally shocked. Confused, I asked why the suite had been left empty, and it seemed that Beth had said,
I want to decorate the room for a surprise for my sister, so please leave for a while.
Could it be that Beth cut up the dress? But why? I didn't want to believe it, but given the circumstances, Beth seemed the most likely culprit. And more than anything, her attitude since my wedding was decided and that hateful glare she gave me on the day of the pre-shoot. With trembling hands, I pulled out my phone and called Beth.
What? Do you need something?
Beth answered my call immediately. Trying to hold back my tears, I spoke clearly. Beth, what were you doing in my dressing room earlier?
Huh? I told you, I mistook it for the bathroom. Forgot already? You must be losing it.
That's a lie. You cut up my wedding dress, didn't you? As I questioned her, overwhelmed with emotion, Beth burst out laughing.
What? The dress is cut up? And you're blaming me? That's annoying. Maybe you got some divine punishment for being so nasty that your dress ended up in shreds.
The fact that you seem so happy about this is proof enough. Why did you do this to my dress?
What a pain. Do you have any proof that I did it? But if I had to say one thing, it's that it's a mistake for someone like you, uglier than me, to get married first. That ruined dress is just perfect for you. The groom and the relatives will probably think so too.
With those parting words, Beth hung up. And before me lay the dress, in a state that seemed beyond repair. The staff, who had stepped out of the room for just a few minutes at the request of a family member, apologized profusely. But no matter how many apologies were given, the dress wouldn't be restored. Not wanting to blame the staff, I kept repeating, "It's okay, but could the wedding even proceed?" In the midst of that despair, there was a gentle knock on the bridal suite door.
Mary? Are you getting ready? Oh my.
It was my mother-in-law, who had come into the room. She had brought refreshments for the staff. But as she entered the room, which felt more like a funeral parlor than a wedding suite, her face became grave.
This is awful. How did the dress end up like this?
Actually, my sister. As I explained the situation, feeling defeated, and nodded calmly.
I see. I'm glad I prepared just in case.
Huh? Prepared?
Mary, I have a suggestion.
Usually calm and gentle, and suddenly had a sharp look in her eyes and proposed a plan to me. If you're willing to help me, I'll do whatever it takes. Fueled by her plan, my resolve strengthened, And I felt a surge of determination to make this wedding, which I had thought might have to be cancelled, absolutely perfect. Just watch, Beth. I'll show you a version of me that shines with happiness and make you eat your words. Feeling reinvigorated, the staff also threw themselves into decorating me with renewed energy. With a new determination in my heart, different from the feelings I had felt that morning, I was ready to face the ceremony. From the magnificent chapel built outside the venue, solemn music resonated. As the large doors in front of me opened, I saw my father standing there, and beyond him, the aisle stretched out. At the end of the aisle, at the altar, stood the groom, Kevin. As I began to walk down the aisle with my father, a murmur rose from the guests. My father, beside me, was crying. As for Kevin, who didn't know what had happened, he seemed surprised. Peeking through my lowered veil, I secretly glanced at Kevin's surprised face and smiled a little. I also took a quick look at the bride's family seats. There, I saw my sister, who probably expected me to show up in a tattered dress or a hastily put-together one, with a face that had gone beyond astonishment. Beth stood frozen with her mouth wide open, unable to move as she watched me enter the chapel. As I walked past her and reached Kevin, leaving my father's side and taking Kevin's hand, Beth seemed to snap out of it and began tugging on the handkerchief she held. When Kevin and I finished exchanging rings and sealing our vows with a kiss, we were showered with flowers by everyone and began to exit. As we passed by Beth again, her handkerchief, which she had been pulling on, finally tore with a rip. It was amusing, but I hadn't gone through with the ceremony just to see my sister get upset. I pushed thoughts of my sister out of my mind and focused on savoring the joy that filled my heart. After the group photo session outside the chapel, we were directed to move to the reception hall. The ceremony went smoothly, didn't it?
I was surprised. I never expected Mary to show up wearing that.
Kevin and I chatted briefly before heading back to our respective rooms. The guests began to make their way toward the reception hall, enjoying a pleasant atmosphere, when suddenly Beth, standing with her arms crossed, shouted out,
Hold on a second! Why are you wearing such a fancy dress?
Beth pointed at the dress I was wearing.
What's with this long veil? And a tiara? And that sparkling neckline? Why does someone like you, uglier than me, get to wear something so nice with such a smug look? You don't have the right to that. How arrogant!
She started yelling words that were half insults and half praise for the dress. I could understand why Beth was so upset. The dress I was wearing was truly stunning. The long, flowing veil was made of the finest lace, and on my head, I wore a magnificent Swarovski tiara. The dress itself was made of rich, lustrous silk, with a voluminous skirt fit for a royal wedding. The neckline was adorned with Swarovski crystals in a tasteful manner. Being beautiful or not has nothing to do with it. Every bride is beautiful, and she has the right to wear the wedding dress she loves and enjoy a wonderful day. You've always looked down on me and called me ugly. Who do you think you are, Beth?
Obviously, beautiful people are better than ugly ones. Ugly people are socially inferior. That's just the way it is. Look! Don't you all agree that I am much more polished and beautiful?
Beth turned to the guests midway through her rant, giving a nasty smile. The guests, including our parents, were all stunned into silence. Taking the silence as agreement, Beth became even more emboldened.
See? It seems everyone thinks I'm more beautiful. But I don't even have a boyfriend. And my ugly sister got married first. I just can't accept it.
Beth glared at me with intense eyes, then suddenly lunged at me.
Oh, it's a pity for the dress to be worn by someone as ugly as you. Apologize to the dress and take it off now.
Beth. Stop it. This wedding dress was lent to me by Anne. She wore it at her wedding. It's very precious, so don't touch it. As I tried to fend Beth off, the staff and Kevin, who was standing next to me, quickly intervened to pull her away. Beth struggled as she was restrained by the staff, but she immediately quieted down when she heard what I said.
Huh? It's secondhand? So you were wearing something used after all. How pitiful to cherish a secondhand item. Getting stuck with a shabby hand-me-down from your mother-in-law means you're already being mistreated. What a dark future. Serves you right.
Calling it a shabby hand-me-down is something I can't overlook.
A calm voice cut in before Beth's laughter. Looking over, I saw Anne smiling as she walked over from among the guests.
That dress is actually a one-of-a-kind custom-made fashion. When it was custom-made, it cost $200,000.
What? $200,000?
Now, with the price of silk and Swarovski crystals going up, it might be worth even more. I had it professionally stored, so it's in perfect condition.
Beth turned pale at Anne's words. It was clearly a gorgeous dress, but for someone like Beth, giving her the specific price had the most impact.
Why would you let my sister wear something like that?
Because Mary is a wonderful bride with a kind heart. I thought it would make me happy if my precious wedding dress was worn by my lovely daughter-in-law.
That's not what I meant. Why did you have such an amazing dress ready?
Beth probably thought there wouldn't be any backup dress, which is why she went ahead with her plan to ruin mine. And gave her a fearless smile.
Beth, you were glaring at Mary so intensely during the pre-wedding photo shoot, weren't you? After we separated you from Mary, you zoomed in on the dress in the photos you took and kept scrutinizing it. I figured you might be planning something with the dress, so I prepared for it.
I thought you were just a clueless old woman.
Oh, when my parents or husband have money, I become quite sensitive to people's malice.
It was a casual statement, but Beth didn't miss the mention of money.
What? Kevin's mom is rich. Does that mean Kevin is rich too? A rich, handsome guy. I don't get it. Why did he choose my sister?
Oh, the reason I married Mary? Well, I was planning to talk about that in my speech at the reception.
Asked by Beth, who was now shouting with a red face, Kevin replied, blushing a little himself.
When I first went out to eat with Mary, she suggested splitting the bill. I'd never heard that before, and it surprised me. She even said she'd pay half of the rent for our new home and split the wedding expenses too.
Huh? What? Splitting the bill? That makes no sense. If you're rich, you should pay for everything, Kevin. What a useless man. And you, Mary, should let the man treat you to make him feel manly. That's why you're a lousy woman.
That's it. Every woman I dated before said the same thing, only caring about my wallet. Mary was the first independent woman I'd ever met. I can't imagine living my life with anyone but her.
There are other reasons, But that's how Kevin concluded, and Beth responded with a humph and clicked her tongue.
What's with the lovey-dovey talk? Boring. I can't stand it. I don't care about a reception where my plain-looking sister is the star. Maybe I'll just leave.
Having made enough noise, Beth seemed suddenly bored and relaxed her posture. She had always been like this, causing a fuss with great intensity until she either got her way or lost interest. I had put up with her unreasonable behavior for so long just because I was the older sister, but to see she hadn't changed as an adult was a big problem. I needed to give her one last lesson as her sister. I grabbed Beth's arm to stop her as she yawned and tried to leave. It's a good opportunity to tell you now, but you'll need to properly compensate for the dress you destroyed. Beth, who was pulled back by me, frowned in displeasure before smirking triumphantly.
You think I ruined the dress? There's no proof I did it. Why don't you save that nonsense for when you're dreaming?
Beth shook off my hand and giggled. She seemed delighted at having ruined the dress I had carefully chosen. But I needed to make her understand what happens to someone who tramples on another's happiness. Facing a smug-looking Beth, I smiled brightly and nodded. Too bad for you, it was all caught on the security cameras. I had additional cameras installed in the bridal suite just in case. I could even file a criminal complaint for property damage. I wouldn't want to have a family member arrested at a happy wedding, but...
Huh? What? They offer that kind of option at weddings?
Beth finally lost her smile, her face twisting again in shock and panic. I calmly explained to her. It's not an option. I had it put in just for my wedding day, as a precaution. They'll remove it tomorrow.
Why would you be able to install or remove something like that so freely?
This venue is run by my company.
What? You're a business owner. But you were just a boring office worker.
Whether I was boring or not is beside the point, but I had indeed been an office worker until recently. However, my longing for wedding dresses and ceremonies grew stronger, and I decided I wanted to create my ideal venue. Along with my savings, Kevin's mom, who is also an investor, provided some funding, and I was able to run a venue filled with dreams and aspirations for brides.
This place. Your venue. No way. I've never heard that from Mom or Dad.
I told Mom and Dad not to mention it to you. I knew you'd say something like, "How dare an ugly person like you run a business?" Beth's face, twisted with anger and confusion, slowly softened as she listened to my story. I could practically see the gears turning in her head.
Wait, so now I have lots of wealthy relatives. Then maybe you could introduce me to a rich guy.
Beth clapped her hands together, as if she had just hit the jackpot. Of course, she was always thinking about the wrong things. Beth, are you still planning on having a relationship with me as your sister? After what you did to my precious dress? I never want to see your face again.
Huh? Why? Why would you say that? It was just a little prank. I'll apologize. I'm sorry.
Beth offered a half-hearted apology, still smiling casually. Her lightheartedness made my feelings explode. What do you mean? A prank? I will never forgive you. While I'm glad I got to wear Anne's beautiful dress, I still cherished the dress you tore to shreds. You will pay for it.
What? You were serious about compensation. How much does a wedding dress cost, anyway? I don't have any savings.
If you don't pay, I'll file a criminal complaint. Did you really think you could get away with anything just because I was your ugly and plain sister? No way. Grow up already. Faced with my fury, Beth collapsed to the ground. My parents were crying, but this time not from joy. To make our parents this sad, she had far too much talent for causing them grief.
Mary, that was impressive. As expected from the businesswoman I invested in. I'm so lucky to have been able to lend you my dress and invest in you. I look forward to being with you more.
Mom, saying I look forward to being with you is my line. Don't say it first.
Feeling relieved, I smiled back at Kevin and Ann as they spoke gently. After we sent a downcast Beth back to our parents' house, the restarted reception proceeded smoothly and peacefully. Even though there had been a major incident, it ended up being the perfect wedding for me, one where I was able to deepen my bond of trust with my new family. Afterward, Beth was kicked out of the house by our angry parents. They apologized to me, admitting they had spoiled her too much just because she was the younger sister. They seemed to genuinely resent what Beth had done. Beth left the family home, but since she couldn't afford to change jobs to pay for the compensation of my dress, she rented a small apartment near our parents' house for the time being. However, staying in her hometown meant she inevitably ran into old friends. With us being sisters close in age, word of what had happened at my wedding had spread everywhere. Tired of being openly avoided by friends every time she tried to talk to them, Beth decided to escape to a different state. The daily commute now takes her a significant amount of time, and the move has drained what little savings she had. With her monthly salary and bonuses going toward repaying the cost of the dress, she's living a hand-to-mouth existence. Of course, she has no money for her beloved makeup or fashion. She used to proudly call herself the company's beauty and fashion leader, but now she goes about her days quietly, with a disheveled appearance, occasionally glaring enviously at her coworkers. It seems that Beth's only solace now is social media. She posts daily updates about her miserable state, which only serves to push away more friends, steadily reducing her social circle. Kevin and I have continued to live as a happy couple since our wedding. Kevin is thriving at his job, and as for me, I've embarked on a new project, creating original wedding dresses for our venue, a concept suggested by Anne. Encouraged by the investor's words, "If you love wedding dresses, you're sure to create dresses that brides will love," I've been working tirelessly every day with the staff on the unfamiliar task of dressmaking. It's challenging, but there's nothing quite like the joy of creating an ideal dress using beautiful tulle, lace, and silk. Sometimes, my heart still aches when I think about the dress my sister tore to shreds. But looking at the pictures of me wearing Anne's wonderful dress and pledging eternal love to Kevin, I feel myself gradually healing. Moreover, being present when a bride wears a dress I've created, celebrating the happiest day of her life, has allowed me to find a new kind of happiness in being part of weddings. I am filled with gratitude every day for Kevin, who married me, and Anne, who supported me through both work and the dress shredding incident. And I feel just a little grateful to my sister, too, for helping me rediscover my love for wedding dresses. So, how did you enjoy today's story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next video.